Good morning. In today's session, we will be discussing about planning, which is part of your module 3. So first, we'll just see what we'll be discussing for today. Let's go through the agenda. So over here today, we will see what is the purpose of planning, why we need it, and what exactly we mean by a plan. That is, we will be defining a plan. Along with that, we will see a simple planning agent, how things work with a planning agent, and an algorithm for simple planning agent, along with various assumptions that are involved in having your planning agent perform a particular action. Now, before we get on, let us try to understand that planning is a reasoning side of action. Now, in our previous problems that we have solved on blocks or any other heuristic approach, we have not seen the reasoning behind a particular action exactly. Now, let's say this is the world or the environment, and this is the agent which exists within this particular environment. Now, what does the agent do? The agent will perceive the world. Now, what it will do is, it will perceive the world. Let's say perception is defined as, or I will represent perception as P. Now, the agent will perceive or look at what is happening in the world. Now, after perception, what does the agent do? He will reason, he will make a reasoning over his perception. Now, once this reasoning is made over his perception, based on this reasoning or deliberation, this particular agent will take suitable actions, and these actions in turn affect the world or the environment in which the agent is present. Now, let's see, let's have a recap of what it is. We have a world in which, or an environment in which the agent is, or the intelligent agent is present. Now, this intelligent agent will first perceive the world. After perceiving or looking at the world, it will make deliberations over this particular perception that it has viewed. Based on this perception, the agent will take suitable actions. Now, always remember that we human beings work in a way similar to that of intelligent agents. Okay, we humans work in a similar way of intelligent agents. Now, what do we mean by that? Consciously, unconsciously, whatever actions we take are trying to achieve certain goal. We are humans, and all the actions that a particular human being takes is always trying to achieve certain goal, and this action is either conscious or not that conscious. It could be a random action. It is never a random action what a human takes. It is always trying to achieve certain goals. Now, over here, the goal that a human tries to achieve is usually a short term goal, or it could be a long term goal. Okay. Now, let's take the example of autonomous cars. I hope we people are aware of what we mean by autonomous cars. Let's get rid of whatever is written here. Now, what do we do in case of autonomous cars? Now, we have a car. Let me draw. Now, over here we have a car. Now, what does this car have to do? The car has to reach this particular goal or destination. Now, how does this car reach this particular destination? First thing is, you have to let go this car. So, once you let go this car, it is not just letting go the car and the car starts moving forward. Along with that, what else is required? The car has to look out for other cars. If there are any other cars on the path from this car to the destination. Now, if there is any other object in between, it has to either accelerate, it has to slow down, or if there is nothing, it can accelerate. At each time during acceleration or slowing down or braking or something, every time a decision has to be made by this autonomous car. Now, how does this autonomous car take this decision? It is based on what it is looking at this particular instance of time. Let us say the car is over here, it will see what are the vehicles which are in front of it, or what are the objects in front of it, and based on that perception, this car, which is an agent that is working on within this car, will take a suitable action in order to reach the goal. I hope this is clear. Now why we need an agent, why we need planning, why we need to have a perception, I hope these terminologies are clear to you. Now let us get back to our previous diagram. Now in this previous diagram, we have seen that we had a world and an agent within this particular world or the environment. First agent was perceiving the world, based on that it was deliberating or reasoning, and based on this particular reasoning, this agent was taking action. Now there is another system that has to be added to this. We call this system as planning system. And to this planning system, there is another component that needs to be added to it, and we call this as executive. Okay, planning system and executive. Now this executive will work in conjunction or along with the happenings in the world. Okay, imagine that we have a planning system which interacts with the executive. Okay, executive also in turn interacts back to the planning system, and then the executive in turn is interacting with the world. Now this executive is the remote agent architecture. Now over here you can run this executive remotely. Okay, you can run this executive remotely. Now let us move on with the slides that we have prepared. Now what do we mean by planning? Planning is a search problem that requires to find an efficient sequence of actions that transform a system from a given state to the goal state. Now what are we trying to do over here is we are trying to move from a start state up to the goal state, and what we are doing in order to move, we are performing a sequence of actions. Now how do we perform this particular sequence of actions? We search the best possible action and then take that action in order to reach the goal state from the start state. Now let us take a simple example. Now let us take an example of scheduling a holiday. Let us say I want to go from India to America. Right now it's a hot spot. Okay, India to America. Now we have flight reservation systems which provide us with various suggestions. Like if you open all the application, all the Make My Trip or whatever, you will have lot of suggestions that pop up to you. Now what are the possible paths? One is you can directly take a single flight and reach America. Now otherwise you can take a flight up to Frankfurt, Germany, and then reach America. Or you can take a flight up to Paris and then reach America. Or you can take a flight to Hong Kong, let me write here, to Hong Kong, third possible ways, reach Hong Kong and then to America. Or reach Doha and then to America, or you can reach to Dubai and then to America. These are various possible ways as to how you can reach America. Now let's say how does your goal is what? Your goal is to reach America from India. India is the start state, America is the goal state. Now let's say what are the sequence of actions? You can take a direct flight or you have other possibility of actions. Now what will you search over here, and how will you plan? Let's say you want to go to Paris, visit Paris and then reach America. Now the action that you will choose over here is, first you will reach Paris. Your planning goes this way, from India to Paris and then to America. Or it could be you may select a place like Dubai and then take a flight from India to Dubai and then reach America. Now these are possible sequence of actions that you could take, and this search of possible sequence of actions in order to reach a goal state from the start state, we call it as planning. Now what is given over here in this planning problem? You have the initial state of the problem and then you will be given the goal state of the problem. Now from the initial state, your requirement is to reach the goal state. And also you will be given a finite set of actions that need to be performed. And preconditions are what? A finite set of conditions for which an action to be performed. Post conditions is a finite set of conditions that will be changed after an action will be performed, and this will cost. Now what does our planning involve? It has the initial state, goal state, and within that it has finite set of actions that can be taken by the agent, and these some are preconditions and some are post conditions. And in case of preconditions, it is a finite set of conditions for the action to be performed, and the states that will be changed after an action is performed. Now what is the output of this particular planning? Now after taking a sequence of actions, now these sequence of actions obviously have to meet our goal state. Every action that we take has to somewhere converge at the goal state. Now every action matches the current system. Now from the initial state, I need to move to the goal state. Now at this particular instance of time, I will not bother what was the state of the system at initial state, or I will not bother about what is the state at the goal state. I will take the current situation, and based on this current situation and nearing to the goal, an action will be taken. Now you can transform the system from the initial state to the goal state, and the total cost of the actions is below the specified value. You want to reach the goal state at the least cost. Now planning as a real world problem. Now everything we are studying over here is why we are actually planning certain problems, and then how does it help us. Now in planning we have certain aspects to be understood. One is domain description. Okay, you are applying this particular planning to a particular specific domain. It could be a medical domain or whatever domain. Okay, and then you need to specify various actions possible. Okay, we call it as action specification. And then the third one is goal state. Based on these actions, I want to reach the goal state. Now when we are talking about when we are talking about such a problem wherein I want to reach a goal state from the initial state, what is my requirement? I don't want my solution that I propose to reach the goal state to be domain specific. I want it to be an independent planning which I can use for generic domain. Generic, not domain, it's generic planning system. I can call it, since I am able to use it for general purpose for almost all the domains, in that case I call it as general planning system. Now in order for this particular planning system to work, what is required is I need to have a planner. Now, how will I get this planner? I need to devise a suitable language that helps me with the planning. Okay, I need to have a planner, and from where do I get this? I need to have a suitable language which has to be developed in order to perform this particular planning. Okay. Now, what does this planner or the language which is used for planning do? First, it will read the domain, then write a suitable set of actions, then read the goal description, and based on that, all these three you will be supplying it to a planner. A planner is written using some particular language. Now, once you are passing all these specifications to the planner, what will happen? The planner will first compile and run this. Okay, it is reading the problem and then it is assessing the set of actions that are possible, and also it will see what is the goal state. Based on all of these three information, the planner, which is written using a particular language, we will see what language it uses and all that stuff. What it does is it will compile and run this information, and based on this it will try to achieve the goal. Okay. Now, based on this it is trying to achieve the goal. I hope this is clear what we are doing. Now, let us move further. Did we discuss this slide? No. Okay. Planning problem has a wide range of applications in the real world. We can use planning or apply planning for our daily life, or you can apply in the game world or in the workflow management. What do we mean by planning in the daily life? Let's say, now what is your usual thing that you plan in order to reach to college? First thing is how do you plan your daily routine? First thing is you get up, you get a cup of tea to help yourself with a cup of tea, and then you go for bath, and then you go to college. Now, over here you can see that this planning that you have performed or you want to perform, the start state is what? The start state is you need to get up, and then what is the end state? You need to reach the college. Now, in between, either you can first go for a bath and then have a cup of tea, or you can skip the cup of tea if you are very late. And then also we can see that if you have got up late, if there is some sort of traffic also, you may reach late to the college. There are so many parameters that come into picture when you have to plan to get up and then go to college on a particular day. Now, even in the game world, you know that you want to win a particular game, and in order to win that particular game, be it a chess or it could be any game, you are aware of what actions have to be taken in order to reach the goal state. Now, the third one is workflow management. Now, workflow management is, I will just give a simple example of managing an inventory in a factory. We will see that example in detail later, or okay, we will see that later. Now, how do we plan a trip? The first thing is we begin planning a trip. We'll start with the planning of a trip. We prepare, and then we move on to checking whether we have airline flights available, go for booking the flight, and then after the flight is booked, we go for hotel reservation, and then once we reach the hotel, we want a car to be used in order to move to various places, and then after all these are confirmed, we can then go to a trip. That is the end. We are done with the planning. Now, let's take a simple example, which is consider a task of getting milk, bananas, and a cordless drill. Now, standard search algorithms seem to fail miserably. Now, because there is lot of branching factor and heuristics involved here. Now, over here you can see that we start. Now, there are a lot of options that are available or a lot of actions that this particular person can take. One is he can go to a pet store and then he can go take a parrot, then buy a dog or whatever in order to reach the goal. Now, what is our goal? Our goal is to get milk. If you go to a school, you are not able to procure milk. If you go to a supermarket, of course, you will have, again, once you reach the supermarket, you will have a lot of other options, and you, based on those options, you will take an action. And if, let's say, you take an action of buying milk, then you have reached the final goal state. Now, over here, you can see that there is a lot of branching factor that is involved. Now, the difficulty in case of planning is to find good heuristic functions. I think we will stop here, and once you understand this, we can continue with further slides.